Hello. My name is Callista, and welcome back to The Roottrees Are Dead. In the last episode, we were focusing on Lauren Roottree, although her married name is Lauren Rafferty, so I would assume that is more than likely your man. So yeah, Lauren Roottree, and you married a Rafferty, so can we... Oh. Chris Rafferty, Jacob Rafferty. Okay, we'll leave that. We'll leave it. I'm thinking you do have one additional kid. We can find it out. I'm sure we'll be able to find it out. Okay. And again, do we have retired? I'm pretty sure I've already searched for retired. You know, we don't have retired, in which case I will put author. There we go. Okay. Now, where were we? Yeah, she was an author. A Life Between Wars. These... Yeah, these were what we got when the mysterious stranger returned. I don't want to have a look at them yet. I want to do the notables first, and then I can start looking at all this other stuff. So let's... Yeah, we need to start searching. Well, to be fair, these are all books. These are all books, so the public library would be the best place. We'll go... And then we want A Life Between Wars. Okay, published 1965. Hardcover, student edition, republished 1993. Non-fiction. Oh dear God! Oh my days. Okay. Fuck a duck. It seems you've hit the jackpot here. This is a book occasionally taught in schools. You even find a hardcover edition for students that has full-page, high-quality pictures in it. A summary of the comments in the book, photos, as well as some particularly relevant entries from the diary have been added to your evidence. I'm here, so therefore I'm gonna copy. No, we need to... Okay. A romance novel by Lauren Roottree, about the author blurb mentions that she had the inspiration from one of her brother Clancy's lectures on the Middle Ages. Oh. A lecturer. Okay, well let's highlight that. Thank you. Court Jester series. Can we... That would be something for here, I think. Okay. Romance in Court is a book by Lauren Roottree. It is the first and most famous of a series of 3 books. I never started my timer. There we go. It is the first and most famous of a series of 3 books, often called the Court Jester series. All 3 books in the series are about different romances, but told via the same narrator. You can probably surmise the narrator's profession. The 2 other books were called Return to Court and New Romance in Court. Searching for them online yields few results. The book had some popularity when they were released in the late 60s. Now 30 years later, they aren't in high demand. So okay, so yeah, that's the first one. So then we have Return to Court, New Romance in Court. Yeah, let's see what these other books look like. Okay. nothing new there. And then better to be safe than sorry. Lauren returns to the Middle Ages with the last chapter in the Court series. Okay, but still, we know Lauren apparently had a brother, Clancy, who did lectures on the Middle Ages. So, like, lecturer, professor, historian, archaeologist, even, specializing on this era. Okay, interesting, though. And we did note that down. Okay, we have a lot. We have a lot. I'm like, what's new and what isn't? Oh! Okay, so this is where the majority comes in. Okay, A Life Between Wars, excerpts from the diaries of a Roottrie. We have their pictures. I want to put that in before I forget anything. There we go. The below are notes and observations you made while skimming through Lauren Roottree's diary pages in A Life Between Wars. Lauren Roottree is on the notable Roottrees list in your evidence. She will be marked on the chart with a star. The book was published in 1965 and consists of diary entries that stretch from 1940 to 1965. The most important event that much of the diary and Lauren's thoughts revolve around was the loss of her husband, Jacob. That would be Jacob Rafferty. Okay. Jacob died in the final months of World War II while Lauren was pregnant. This left her to raise her son Clark alone. Lauren never remarried and only had one child. By skimming the pages of the diary, you glean the following information. She was the granddaughter of Elias and Gwyneth on her father's side. Her mother's family was called the Cassells, but she hardly ever mentions them. Okay. You know what, I'ma just... There we go. Her father, who she always referred to as Pop, was the head lawyer for the Roottrie Candy Company and helped write a legal document called the Clancy Trust. Again, I'm taking all of that. Thank you. It's clear from the context that the Roottrees have internal shorthand names for the different generations of their family. Lauren uses them often. 5 Pieces, the first generation of children by Gwyneth and Elias. Lauren's father was in this generation. The next generation, Lauren's generation, the Free Spirits, the generation after Lauren's, including her son. Interesting, okay. So, an entry entitled Complaints from Lauren Roottree's diary. Written in 1953, this entry seems to focus specifically on one of Lauren's family members, Gwyn, who is on the notable Roottrees list. It seems everyone has something to complain about. Gwyn, as an only child, complained of loneliness. I told her that being expected to watch after 3 younger brothers didn't feel like a blessing, but it fell on deaf ears. You have exclusively brothers. I want to say it's 4 people in your line. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it is 4. So you have exclusively brothers. Good to know. Didn't feel like a blessing, but it fell on deaf ears. During the summer where I went to stay with her and Aunt Margot... Okay, we have... Gwen has her own page. So let's... Aunt Margot. I hoped she would be the sister I never had, and that I'd do the same for her. I even tried to dye my hair blonde to fit in with the 2 of them. What a mess. But she just complained. To her, I was the lucky cousin. Now she's off living the glamorous life while I'm stuck here with Clark. I must admit, seeing her everywhere contributes to my unhappiness. Her visage stares at me even now from my coffee table. She gets Okay, this is a magazine. This is a gossip rag. This is exactly the kind of place we would find information on movie gossip. So, yeah. Put that there. Okay. Her visage stares at me even now from my coffee table. She gets to be in Starlet and tell tales of how she gallivants around the world kissing the likes of Harrison Lane and Wild Bill Williams. She's the first Roottree woman to be anything other than a housewife. We know We know that Elias, I believe his firstborn was a daughter. I seem to remember reading that somewhere, that his firstborn child was a girl. And Gwyn is the first Roottree woman to be anything other than a housewife. I'm gonna remember that. And I am jealous. If I were not a single mother, could I make my own way in this world? But I am off topic. A girl with all the luck in the world was jealous of me. And now, though I have been undoubtedly burdened by terrible tragedy, I am also lucky to be born into a family that can support me for eternity. I can raise a child without worry, unlike countless other widows. If any of them were to hear me complaining, they would rightfully scoff, just like I do at Gwyn. Okay, well I'm glad you do have like a sense of you realise that you are incredibly fortunate. Obviously you have the right to complain, you're upset, you're human. You're human, and humans like to complain. I say this as a Brit. Complaining is our national pastime. But at least you have the wherewithal to understand, yeah, there are people out there way worse than me. They would look at my complaints and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the hell? Like, girl, be serious. An entry entitled Dynasty from Lauren Rootree's diary, written in 1958. It focuses on the day her grandfather, Elias, announced he would step down as president of the Roottree Candy Company and the meeting to determine his successor. I wish I had been a fly on the wall today. Clancy told me that everyone got quite heated. Grandad was furious none of his sons would take over as president, but that's what he gets for holding on to it for so long. With architects, preachers, and lawyers, nobody's got time for candy. So with the 5 pieces refusing to step up, it comes down to us next gens. Pops argued at length that the company should stay with our branch of the family since we still have the Roottree name. I'm not even sure Clancy would have wanted it, but he was the one who volunteered. Instead, it ended up going to Zach. Even though his surname doesn't match the candy, he's the firstborn son of the firstborn 5-piece. Okay. Yeah, Elias's firstborn was a girl. And then she has a son, Zach. Okay. I'm not sure how that's relevant to running a company, but Grandad has always had very particular views when it came to his bloodline. I asked Clancy if it ever came up that a woman could take over. After all, Angie's older than Zach, and I'm next oldest of all of us, but he just laughed. I'll never forget the cuss words Pops used when he told Ma it wouldn't go to us. Mother, ever the quick-witted, at least with catty remarks, countered back. Maybe they wanted it to go to the only member of the family who looks like he samples the product. Oh, that's not a catty remark. That's just a bitch move. So Zach is on the chubby side. If he looks like he samples the product, they make candy. So Zach is big. Okay, there's a lot of information here, and I'm like, where do I put this? What tab do I put this under? We have architects, preachers, and lawyers. I would say this would go here. Because these are their kids. And how many kids? There are 5. So architects, preachers, and lawyers, and then maybe the other 2 were girls. And they had to be housewives because Gwyn is the first Roottree woman to be something other than a housewife. There we go. So yeah, her dad wanted one of his sons to get it. But it ends up going to Zach. Because Zach is the firstborn son of the... where do I put you? Where do I put you? We'll just go with Zach. We'll put you there. Why not? Okay. Angie's older than Zach. Take me here. I'm assuming this is probably Angie. Although, I mean, technically speaking... No. Angie's older than Zach, and I'm the next oldest. I feel... Oh. To me, this indicates that Zach... No, excuse me. Yeah, he's the firstborn son, not he's the firstborn of the firstborn. Yeah, I reckon Angie's probably Zach's older sister. And then, we'll grab that. There we go. So we're looking, if we can find a picture of Zach, he's chubby. Got it. And then an entry entitled Sam from Lauren Roottree's diary, written in 1963. From a previous entry, you learn that Elias Roottree had given in to his wife and announced that Sam, an obscure relative, was to be included in family gatherings. Gwyneth had been pushing to include Sam for quite some time. Lauren writes, "Why Sam? I have many distant relatives I've never met. After all, Granny had sisters and Grandad had a brother or two. But I was told, trim their branches from the family tree. So why is Sam special? Nothing adds up. And I'm not the only one to realise. Angie summoned all the next gens to a secret meeting in Zach's office. They're siblings. They're siblings, 100%. She's using big sister privilege to be like, oi, we're meeting in your office. Can't we meet at your house? No, we're meeting in your office. I have claimed it. Gwen's in Paris, but the rest of us, including Miracle's boys, spent ages trying to unravel the mystery. I didn't recognise Sam at Uncle Junior's wedding to Patsy last year. What the Uncle Junior? Who's married Patsy? Uncle Junior. I'm like, I don't know where to put this. We'll put this... We'll put this in Lauren's. We'll go from there. No, excuse me. From here. There we go. Also, Miracle's boys. I mean, I can remember that because Miracle is an extremely unique name. Extremely unique. But the rest of us, including Miracle's boys, spent ages trying to unravel the mystery. I didn't recognise Sam at Uncle Junior's wedding to Patsy last year. At the reception, when I asked who Sam was, Pop shushed me and said it was complicated. Gwyneth, that's the great-grandmother. That's Elias's wife. I think. So let me check. Yeah. I'm thinking. But that, so my first thought was that maybe Gwyneth had an illegitimate son. Like she cheated on Elias. And so she's like pushing, let my son be included, let my son be included. But we know that Elias is finicky about blood relations to him. Maybe he loves his wife. And he's just kind of gone, I can get over this. Complicated is code for scandalous. When you have families this fucking rich, this prestigious, complicated is code for scandalous. We don't want anyone talking about it. It's complicated. It could cause a scandal. Everyone just shut up. Clancy swore he saw Sam working alongside the farmhands, E.C. and John, when he used to drive past the old Anderson farm. Again, Gwyneth Anderson. Past the old Anderson farm on his way to work. Upon hearing that, Zach checked the records and managed to confirm all three are on the books. Eli, Miracle's youngest, not my brother. Okay, Amo. That's a direct name, so don't mind if I do. Eli, Miracle's youngest, not my brother, even chimed in. Apparently, when he was riding his mini bike along the farm a few weeks ago, Sam gave him some old tools and taught him how to make the bike's engine faster. None of us think that proper for a multitude of reasons, but Eli certainly seems thrilled. I mean, is Eli like a little kid? You know, he's riding a mini bike and someone's come up to him being like, "Hey kid, do you want to go fast?" At the end of the day, nothing explains why an outsider has cozied into family affairs, especially one who works on the farm of all places. Whatever happened to blood is thicker than syrup. Why is Grandad making an exception now? That's my thought. If this is an illegitimate son of Gwyneth's, Elias is all about his descendants. Could it be an illegitimate son of yours? And Gwen... Because Gwen is the one pushing this. I mean, personally, then again, I'm looking at this from a modern perspective. If I were with someone and they had an affair, father to child, I personally don't know if I would be able to get over that betrayal. Because it's not just the betrayal of you cheated on me, it's the fact that there is a living, breathing consequence of your betrayal. And I would hope, if you're a good person, obviously, like, you've cheated on me, so, like, fuck you. But if you are a decent person, you will be in that child's life. You will pay the child support, you will be there on weekends to form a bond with your kid. You will be a present father. You're not just gonna like, oh, I fucked about, but I'm not gonna find out. I'm gonna just leave the kid. Fuck them. I don't need to be a part of their lives. Like, no. That's an incredibly shitty thing to do. Especially if you have the means of being in their life and you are a decent person. Like, I do believe there are some people where it's like, you should not have kids. You have kids, don't be in their life. You are just gonna fuck them up. I'm not of the opinion that, like, oh yeah, a kid needs 2 parents, or a kid needs a mum and a dad specifically. Kids should be with blood. Like, I don't believe in any of that. I think a single man or a single dad is infinitely better to, okay, you're being raised by a couple and one of them is just god awful. One of them is just giving you so much trauma. Like, just be with a single parent. Just single parent all the way. Like, if you're a decent person and you're not going to fuck up the kid, I would expect my partner to be in that kid's life. And that, maybe I could get over the cheating. But the product of that affair is going to be coming around constantly. And no, it's not the kid's fault. The kid didn't ask to be the product of an affair. I get that. But that's what they still are. They didn't ask for that, but that's ultimately what they are. And I don't know if I could stand having a constant reminder of that affair being around me. And I think I would divorce. But as I said, I am looking at this from a modern day perspective. This is the 1960s. Was divorce even a thing in America in the 1960s? I don't know. That would have been an absolute faff. Gwyneth probably would have lost the farm, because it was hers originally. And she only inherited because she got married. Maybe she was more conditioned that, like, oh yeah, men have affairs, men cheat, it's just what they do. No, it isn't. That's a bullshit excuse. That's the biggest bullshit excuse I'd ever heard. But that's what people say. That's the excuse that I hear so many times. Maybe she was conditioned to be okay with that, and that's why she'd push. Like, oh yeah, bring your illegitimate son into the fold because he is still family ultimately. Maybe? I think if Sam is an illegitimate son of one of the two, it makes more sense for him to be the illegitimate son of Elias, because Elias is all about blood relatives. If Gwyneth had an illegitimate son, Elias I don't think would give a shit. I don't think Elias could be persuaded, oh yeah, I'ma let your bastard boy into the fold. I am suspicious. I am very, very suspicious of that. Okay, and then one of the final entries called Clark from Lauren Rootree's diary, written in 1964. Clark's getting married and, in my opinion, far too young. He's barely 18 for God's sake, and Danielle isn't much older. Okay. So Clark had an early marriage to Danielle, and then I think he got married to a LaRue, and then he cheated on that LaRue with another LaRue, and then married that LaRue. So many LaRues, so many. He's barely 18 for God's sake, and Danielle isn't much older, but openly confronting them would make me a hypocrite. After all, Jacob and I got married at 16, dear God. Clark, like the rest of his generation, is a free spirit. What else do you call a group of kids growing up with more money than any one person can spend? They all aspire to be musicians and artists and dancers and all sorts of nonsense. The only one who has any discipline is Carl, but that's because Pop forced Clancy to send him to the academy. Do we have a name for Carl's dad? Because I would assume, like, if Pop is forcing Clancy to send Carl to the academy, like, you're not gonna, like, oh, Tony, send your nephew to the academy. I can't do that. That's my nephew. Like, I don't have say in that. Methinks Clancy might be Carl's dad's name. But that's because Pop forced Clancy to send him to the academy. Maybe I'm just getting old, but our generation was never so bad. My brothers all seemed to pursue paths of knowledge, and the most rebellious thing any of us ever did was bring home someone who would be illegal to marry if we lived anywhere south of Pennsylvania. Oh. Illegal to marry. That would be... I don't know where Pennsylvania is on the American map. I don't know my American geography. However, in the deep south, yeah, especially in 1964, they would not take kindly to a marriage of people of different races. I think in the 60s, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh God, I'm like, when did segregation end? When was Rosa Parks? When? I don't know. Oh my God. I don't know American history. I want to say it was before the 60s. I have no clue. I want to say segregation had ended before 1964. And therefore, in some places, it was probably legal for a white person to marry a black person, but I mean, I think it would be a state-by-state thing, right? Some states are like, oh yeah, interracial marriage, that's a-okay, and other states are like, hell no. I'm thinking interracial marriage here. Yeah, they've brought someone home, so they've married someone, but if they're illegal, if it would be an illegal marriage in other states, that has to be interracial. That has to be interracial. Because if it was something like same-sex, well, that would be illegal in Pennsylvania. Yeah, that has to be an interracial marriage. Has to be. Pop seems to have gotten over it because Edward is set to take over his department once he retired. Edward had an interracial marriage. Okay. You know, ooh. That's another book. I'm gonna read through this and then we'll go over it with the highlighting. And as for me, my first published book, Swashbuckle My Heart, is based on the pirate stories I used to invent with Jacob when we were walking in the woods after school. I think he'd be proud that Clark and I are carrying on his name. Even my cousins are doing well. Zach's not a bad president after all, and his sister seemed to be doing a good job raising her twins. Gwyn is Gwyn, but at least she came out of the divorce with her head held high. She even told us she might come home next year so we can meet her kids. But the free spirits. In any other family, they'd all end up on the streets. Even Clark. Oh, that. Effectively, what she's saying is that all of these kids are useless. They all have more money than sense. And as such, they're free to pursue their passions, which under normal circumstances would be perfectly fine, but they're all dipshits. They're all dipshits. They'd all end up on the streets because they're all wide-eyed dreamers. Even my son. That, oof. Big oof. Okay. Well, Clark, where are you? So, yeah, this was someone called Danielle. Has to be Danielle Franks. Okay. Right. I'm thinking, do we have... No, we don't have anything relating to your dad, but We'll do the whole sentence so that I know what I'm talking about here. There we go. Highlight that there. And again, I'm going to put this under Lauren. There we go. My first novel. Oh, no, excuse me. Swashbuckle My Heart. And... yeah, okay, I think I'm good there. I think I'm good. I'm like, before, there were 4. And now there are 6. So some of these came up with Lauren's search, but I don't know which. Again, I still have plenty to search with Lauren, so I'm inclined to leave it be. As I said, I find a track and I stay on it. I stay on it until I'm finished with it, and then I'll switch to another, but not beforehand. Okay, in the next episode, we continue moving forward with Lauren. She's given us a ton to dig into, and I am going to dig. So until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. A special thanks to my channel members, such as SM2K, Christopher K. Davis, CGG, and Kevin Bicknell. I've been Callista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.